believe it. And I do believe it's a battle, by the way. I do believe. Who's winning? I guess Zach, decision-wise. Do I know? Have no clue. Have no clue. Because of that, and Cutler spoke yesterday and Bush spoke yesterday, I think we need to lead with that. So listen to Cutler Bowley. He's a very confident young man, not cocky, obnoxious, not going there. He's a very confident young man. And here's what I found very interesting. What's happened to him is his confidence has gone up, gone up, gone up. And when this young man told Coach Watkins of LCA, who was his offensive coordinator, who joined us the other day, that he's seeing the field better and the game is slowing down to him. I thought that was a great comment by Coach Watkins because, they're close. He was around them for years. And then Cutler yesterday, when the team talked, said this. Now listen to his words and see if you feel what I feel, which is his confidence is growing exponentially.
Good. It's been a really good fall camp. Things are really starting to come together, starting to bring all the boys along, starting to really put some stuff together. We're really looking good. We're moving fast and moving efficiently right now.
What do you think you've learned from this fall camp?
A ton. This is probably the most into it I've ever been, and this is like the best ball I think I've ever played right now is this fall camp. And I took a lot of steps, especially one of the biggest ones being just in the command of everything, the operation. Not just being a good thrower, but being a good all-around quarterback and being the captain and commander of the offense for sure.
Coach talked about your all's ability to convert in those 2-minute situations. What's the key to making sure you are comfortable in those 2-minute situations?
Getting completions and know what you're doing, know when your reads are, know where your eyes are going to go. Just getting completions, getting the playmakers, and letting them do the rest of the work for me.
Do you have any sort of targets that you've become really comfortable with, that you've created a chemistry with?
Hey, starting camp, I knew a few guys from last year, but now it's just like I can close my eyes, whoever's out there found me. You can throw it all around the board. You can put Cam Miller, the true freshman, in. You can put Jamori in. They're all going to do their thing. They're all better at certain things, but they're all going to go out there and bust their tail and give it their all. And like I said, I can close my eyes. You can have any 4 guys out there, any combination, it don't matter to me. I trust all those guys out there make a play.
Coaches have talked pretty highly of how you performed this fall camp. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you wanted to hear, or how do you just respond whenever you are seemingly getting praise every corner?
I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm just taking one step at a time, and I'm just trying my best and doing the best with what I can and what they give me, and that's all I'm trying to do. Trying to be a second extension of Coach Hamden in the offense, and just do what they ask me to do.
Coach just said you and Zach have really been battling. So how does that, what's the result you want to see from that battle? What do you want to get out of this competition over fall camp?
I'm just excited to be out here and competing. I'm just preparing like I'm going to be the starter. I'm preparing that, at any point, whenever my time comes, I'm going to be 100% ready. And that's all really I'm thinking about. When my time comes, it'll come. I'm going to handle the stuff I can handle right now and do the best of what I can do.
Is that hard? Right, to just stay engaged no matter what.
Yeah, that's a big growth spurt, especially from last year. Focus on the now, not the future. Just doing the best and being the best at what I can now. Things will fall into place how they need to fall in place. God's always got a plan. So if I just do the best and try the best at what I can now and do the most with the opportunities they give me, things will fall in place how I want them.
Obviously, does it help in the preparation for the twos look really good on Saturday? What's the difference when you're going against the second team defense versus when you do get 1 reps out there? Can you tell a difference in the challenge? Or?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys subbing in and out. I don't really pay much attention to it. I played against our defense long enough now. I know who. I can look out there and see the guys, safeties, whatever, who's in the game. But it don't really matter to me. I'm trying to, see what they're doing pre-snap, and then who's really out there. I'm not really paying too much attention to, especially on the defensive side.
Good stuff from Cutler. And Jimmy, I bet you agree with me. You can feel his confidence growing, can't you? You can feel it.
Yeah, you can definitely. He sounds like a college veteran at quarterback now. Whereas last year, I'm sure he was just treading water to try to consume everything that was in front of him. But now he sounds confident.
I think this is a fair analogy. You start your game at Texas, with all that experience, wink, wink, and Couch starts his first game at Florida with all his experience as a starter, not wink, wink. Not easy to go in and start at Texas, is it? I don't think he's got enough love for the toughness that he showed last year. That's got to be one of the toughest places in the world. And when Couch had to start against Florida, that's in their heyday. And the stupidity of the coaches actually not just starting at Florida in their heyday, but, wanting to run the option a little bit. I will never let go of that. When people say in coaching profession, oh, you didn't play the game, what do you know? Really, there are some really smart coaches and there are dumbass coaches. That might be the dumbest coaching move. And there have been plenty. There have been plenty of great things that have happened here since I've been here. No question about it. Great coaching moves. But that, to me, is the dumbest coaching move I've seen in all my years at Lexington, Kentucky. So I'm excited. It is a battle. What that means, I'm not sure. I just stand by this. If Zach Calzada is the best quarterback, honestly, at a camp, he should start. If Cutler is the best quarterback at a camp, he should start. Personally, the way I do things, I'm a little different than coaches. And I have heard some coaches say this. But if Cutler is equal to Zach, who's got more room for growth? Seems pretty obvious. Now, Bush Hampton said he's not planning on a platoon. Makes sense. And he basically said, hey, whoever ends up being number one, we got to get them ready. I get that. I understand that. Because remember, with all Zach's experience, he's new around here, right? He's new. And so he needs all the snaps if he's the number one. No matter who's the number one, forget about the number two. They're going to get no snaps, I don't think, or it'll be so minuscule, it's ridiculous leading up to game one, and that might go on for a while. And I get if that's why Bush would do that. But I do know this. Remember my Idaho ties. I have ties there. And he hasn't been afraid under certain circumstances to play more than one quarterback. He's an open-minded thinker. And so I'm not suggesting anything. I am saying in his history, he's not afraid to do different things. So we'll see. I stand by this. They start, preparing next Wednesday for Toledo. It will leak out unless Stoops, I think Stoops would be smart, really, before Wednesday, because then there's so much hovering around and stuff like that. Obviously, you got to tell the players first, duh. But I think he would be smart before Wednesday to say who the starting quarterback is, unless they have made up their mind. And by the way, do I think they know now? I do. Do I think it's possible if it's a real battle they could change their mind? Maybe. Does that lead towards Zach? Yes. Do I know? Nope. Neither do you. Not going to guess. Just not going to guess. John Wall. I don't know what is the biggest ovation. I'm not talking about in a game for a player or coach. When his jersey is retired, I'm not sure Rupp will have ever rocked the way it will rock when John Wall has his number retired. Retired from the NBA yesterday. Everybody knows that story. Jimmy, can you believe the John Wall dance has been seen 16 million times? 16 million times. It's incredible.
What do you mean? The dances?
Yeah, his video of the dance.
Oh, the music. Okay, the video. Okay.
Yeah, 16 million times.
Yeah.
And yesterday I said, and I was actually making my final decision while I was doing the monologue, which, by the way, has happened a lot of times. You put an idea down, you start talking, and I just kind of go where my mouth goes. And that's kind of the joy for me doing this show. And Jimmy, you know me well enough. You could feel that I was kind of making my decision while I was talking, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Were you wondering where I was going?
Yeah, because I feel like up until the second, you don't even know.
You know me too well. It hit me just before, seconds before. I'm going, okay, I've convinced myself this is where we're going. But, Jimmy, there's a bullseye for you. And so I can't think of another basketball player. And remember, I go back to the 40s, not that I covered it, but I know who those guys were. Some of them I knew. And I have followed and studied the history of Kentucky basketball. And I'm not saying he's the greatest Kentucky player of all time. Obviously, one of the greats of all time. Who are we kidding? From that first guy picked in the draft with Washington and what he did for that city and all that other stuff. And that's fine. But I can't think of another person who wore Kentucky across their chest that was more influential in basketball. I can't. And then later after the show, I saw what Julius Randle did, and I wish I had seen it earlier. I can't remember what time he put it up when he said he came to Kentucky because of John Wall. Okay. And what did I say yesterday? That he was the guy that to this day, kids will say Kentucky's cool because of John Wall. And there's not another player like that. So I talked about Wall and I talked about Mashburn. And Mashburn was huge for you old timers, as you know, with turning around this program, with all the shame with Eddie Sutton and the NCAA probation and all that kind of stuff, and all the Kentucky kids. And Sean Woods considers himself a Kentucky kid, and I say that with respect, and I agree with him. But without Mashburn, this thing doesn't turn around so quickly. Everybody knows that. That's not breaking news. And how important Mashburn was. But as important as Mashburn was, he wasn't nearly as important as John Wall. That's not negating Mash. And so I've reached out, 50-50 shot that we can get John Wall on the show. We shall see. He's going to do some NBA commentary. And I stick by what I've said many times. I thought the NBA sucked by not giving him a job after his contract was up a couple years ago when he wanted to play again. Yeah, the speed was not the same. Yeah, he was in his 30s. Yeah, he had those operations, but he probably was still quicker than most guards in the NBA. And as a valuable guy off the bench and as a mentor, I thought the NBA generally was a bunch of dumbasses. Now, every team, could they use him? No. Would it be easy to find if I looked at rosters back then, at least a half a dozen teams that would really use him to help in many ways? Yes. And sometimes the NBA does some stuff that drives me crazy. It does. So anyway, he's going to do some color on NBA. And he even said a few years ago that he really wants to be back and wants to be a mentor and that kind of stuff. And I didn't ask him, and I don't know, but I bet he would have played for the NBA minimum, which is nothing for any team because he already made money. Jimmy looked it up yesterday, $275 million. Why did he need to play for money? He wanted to be around the game. So he will now as a commentator. So John Wall's people put this together. It's got a little length to it. There's a spot where he's sniffling, where he's literally crying, a young girl who he helped out. But even though you can't see it, if you haven't seen it already, I think the audio is still powerful. I think it's important. And I thought it was really cool that John Wall's people put this together. Jimmy, as they say in France, hit the button about John Wall retiring and a conglomeration of things from the NBA.
I've been chasing the ball since I can barely walk. Driveways, parks, packed gyms, 5 a.m. workouts. I gave this game everything I had. From Raleigh to Kentucky,
John Wall.
to the league.
How good is John Wall?
Every jersey I wore meant more than just wins and stats. It was about representing something bigger.
Nasty stuff.
And it's something I couldn't do without you. To my family, my mom especially, thank you for all your sacrifices. I hope I made you proud. To my teammates, trainers and coaches, thank you for believing in me. And to the fans, you made me feel unstoppable.
Most of the game for me, this is for Maya. She really touched your heart, didn't she?
Today, I'm stepping off the court and not away from the game.
John Wall in the building.
Basketball will always be in my life. As new opportunities present themselves, I feel now is the time to walk confidently into my next chapter.
Wall has finished easy special play.
Thank you for every cheer, every moment. Retired, but never done. I'm doing it the Wall way.
I like that, the Wall way. By the way, John Hale does a wonderful job covering Kentucky football at 12:30. Gene Abel does a wonderful job just commenting, former sports editor of the Lexington Herald Leader, outstanding at what he did, will join us at 1 o'clock. Have a lot of good sound to play today. Certain things just flash back. And there were a couple lefty dunks that flashed back to me. But for some odd reason, the thing that, Jimmy, popped most in my head was the first game. I mean, it's the first game. The anticipation with Calipari. All these kids from all over the place, the Cousins and the Bledsoes and the cast of thousands that Cal brought in here. And they're losing to Miami of Ohio. You're talking about opening night on Broadway, and you could feel the tension on the court. You could feel it. And Kentucky makes a comeback. And I think most of you either remember or have seen it out there. The guy, and I can picture the shot. I could picture it as soon as he retired. I don't know why. There's certain things, just stick in your head. He hits the game-winning shot, and people went freaking crazy, as they should. And it was like the legend of John Wall started then. Well, it already started with the dance and stuff like that, but the legend really started. And it was, I'm getting a chill just thinking about it. I know exactly where he was on the court. I know exactly the move, and I bet a lot of you know it just as well as I do. Here's the other thing. His relationship with his mother was as good as it gets, as a lot of sons and a lot of mothers. And I interviewed Frances one time when she was here, and Jimmy was really cute. She really would get nervous in games and at times couldn't watch. But her love of John and John's love of her and the support of each other and John's grandmother was crazy. And he came forward to try to help others. Think about it. He's made $275 million. He's got all the money in the world. Okay. That's nice, but pain is pain. And he was so depressed, losing his mom and his grandmother. He's talked about this. He put a gun to his head twice. Thank God he didn't pull it. And I've often wondered how many people have been like John Wall. I'm not talking about the money, whether you're rich or poor, and haven't done it. And I think he exposed himself, and that's what it is. You're exposing yourself to try to help others. I think he's a young man with a huge Valentine. That's what Eddie Sutton used to say. He's got a big Valentine. John Wall has a huge Valentine. And I think he could be of great counsel, talking to Kentucky players. Little things about life, about playing the game. And Pope would like him around. It'd be interesting to see if he flies in a couple times to hang out. And what he said was perfect about his feelings towards Cal and Kentucky. Hey, Cal's his guy. He'll always support Cal, but Kentucky's his love. And I think that's just really, really, really good. There is nobody in the history of Kentucky basketball that has meant more to a program, I think, than John Wall. I'll go one step further. He's probably the greatest recruiter in the history of Kentucky. Jimmy, I really believe that. He's the greatest recruiter in the history of Kentucky. I want you to think about that. Oh, this is funny. I just got a text from somebody named Isabella, who's a recruiter for Warner Brothers. Jimmy, do you get stuff like that?
Yeah, I usually get the looking for a new job text, and they'll pay you $1,700 a week, and you can get paid day. All those things. Yeah.
Yeah, but Jimmy,
that's great.
Yeah,
Warner
Jimmy,
Brothers.
Jimmy, I'm 72 years old. What the hell am I doing on the list?
Hey, new acting. I mean, 2026 is going to be a big year in the theaters. Warner Brothers, you could be in.
Hey, you know what I could be really good at? Seriously. Now you make the call. I think you'd be really good playing like a grumpy old man. What do you think?
Yeah, especially Warner Brothers, maybe animated, get you on an animated short, something like that.
You'll do anything to get rid of me, won't you?
The possibilities are endless.
So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Jimmy smile. By the way, to show you my genius, this is really bad on my part. Like I did TV for 1,000 years, and it's gotten much better now with colors, but there were certain colors you couldn't wear on TV because of the character generated behind. And so our background, that's why I really haven't pushed this. And if you go watch us on YouTube, please subscribe. And I'm not expecting this to be a huge number. Maybe it grows a little bit slowly, that kind of stuff. Our listening online numbers are growing and growing and growing. Our podcasts are growing and growing. Listening on radio is growing and growing. And we'll see about the YouTube thing. You can only split yourself so many times. Anyway, so I think I complained to you, Jimmy, and I complained to Sean. I'm going, hey, this background is terrible. I mean, look at how I look. I'm kind of like faded out. Being the genius that I'm not, I've been wearing different black T-shirts. Today, I'm wearing my ESPN 1300 T-shirt, which is gray. And guess what? The background looks okay. You would think since I started in TV in the 1970s, Jimmy, I would have put two and two together. Wouldn't you think I should have put two and two together?
I mean, you did eventually. You did the math of it. It took you a minute, but you got the math.
Well, when I looked today, I went, oh, how did I not realize this instantly? Anyway, you got to pick on yourself when it's legitimate. Couple quick things, and I think we will play just a slight smidgen more sound. God bless Oscar. Oscar Sheway's got another two-way contract with Utah. And I was hoping they would trade Kessler. Actually, I was hoping he would go to the Knicks because I think he's a tremendously underrated center. And I thought if they did, he would get more of a chance in Utah. And when he got some clock last year, his numbers were great. They really were. I'm not talking NBA Hall of Fame, but for a guy on a two-way contract, I don't understand why Oscar doesn't play a lot. I don't understand why there wasn't competition to bring him in. I really don't. I got to tell you the perfect team, and they signed somebody else. I'm going blank on his name. He was leading from Iowa. He was leading scorer in the country, and he's bounced around. He's got his body in better shape, and he left Minnesota, and they gave him $5.5 million. And I can't think of his name.
Luka Garza.
Thank you. God bless you. Isn't it amazing? I got all these stats in my head, and I couldn't think of the guy's name. Anyway, I like Luka Garza, by the way. And he can score. And if you look at him, and I saw a couple things where he's really changed his body. I mean, he's streamlined. He's tight. He's never going to be a great defensive player. He's pretty good around the rim. Anyway, I think he's going to get a shot with the Celtics as a backup. I think Amari Williams is going to get a shot too. You got to have, guys like that behind you to see what happens. Point is, Oscar, I think, would have been perfect for Boston because they have so many other guys that can put the ball in the hole. And what do they need? A rebounder. I seriously, it baffles the blank out of me that Oscar isn't playing at a minimum 18 to 22 minutes a game. I don't understand it. I can't be that wrong about a player. And I'm not being biased because it's Oscar, but the theory in the NBA is if you're really good at one thing, you usually have a spot in the NBA. Let's see, is he good at anything? Happy birthday to Rich Brooks. One of the great guys of all time. Coach. Out in Oregon. Bless you. We have time to play and do a little Reds thing. We're going to hold the Lisa Wells till after Gene at 1:30 because I think that's too long. And I want to talk about Dean, and I should have done it the other day, but after I saw that sound, we will do it today. One of the great football players who was lost way too soon. How about the Reds? How about that Reds? They won again, and Ellie was Ellie.
There he goes, huge jump, and then Duhart dumps a base hit into left. Taylor Cruz could score on that ball. They're going to wave him around on a base hit to left. Ward's throw home. Oh my goodness! Now I've seen everything. Dude scored from first on a base hit to left field.
There's the dagger. Swung through 100. Strike three. Look it. Struck him out. Got him looking. A dozen for Green tonight. First pitch poked to deep center. Going way back and going out of the ballpark. And you called it, Cowboy.
How do you like me now?
You said the man on deck would be the best matchup. First pitch ambush, his 10th home run of the year, and he ties it at 1.
How about them Reds? So they have a lead, and they blow it. And Kenley Jansen is on the mound. He's only got like 470 saves or something like that. And they come back and win it. It's a big win. It's a big win. And I got to tell you, I'm excited. And Jimmy, I'm sure you watched it too. Ellie scoring from first, not once, but twice on a base hit. I'm talking about a freaking base hit. Okay. It's crazy. And by the way, I think he's got a groin or something, little problem. He's not even 100%. And he looks like he's going 100 miles an hour. I mean, it is crazy what the man can do. Jimmy, have you heard his new nickname that's spreading on social media?
For Ellie, no.
Oh. Look, I have said a gazillion times, and Hal McCoy was the first to say it, our dear friend. I wish I said it before him, that Ellie belongs in center field. And I can't stand his fielding a shortstop. I've said that many times. And his error Saturday night cost him. It's not the first time. I think he's still leading the league in errors. I think he still is. And I think he led it last year too, at least for shortstop. The point is this. Here's his handle. He's being called Era de la Cruz. Does that bother you?
That is kind of a funny nickname. I
It
get
is.
that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like anytime you're a superstar in any sport, opposing fans will come up with any nickname for you. And I feel like that's, even as an Ellie fan, I love everything about Ellie. Can't really argue it. I mean,
You love everything but his shortstop play, correct?
yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of him leading the league in errors. That's not ideal. And even the times where I forget who they were playing. It was a couple weeks ago. An easy ground ball hit to him, and he hitched about 4 times, threw a rocket across the field, got him out at first. But it's just the little things like you don't have to do that.
Right.
Just make the play. We get it. You have a strong arm. Just make the play.
Yeah, I saw a double play that Corey Seager made the other night, veteran from the Dodgers to Texas and stuff like that. And he releases the ball quickly. And sometimes, well, first of all, he can't throw it hard as Ellie. There's not even a question. He can't do it anything like that. But he releases the ball quickly. He's accurate. Just throw the damn ball.
Yeah.
Throwing the ball softly is harder, I don't know about than every shortstop, but most shortstops in baseball. And it gets there actually quicker. But this hitching and the winding up and that kind of stuff, it drives me crazy. I feel bad that he's got that nickname, but it's his fault. It's his fault, but oh, what a spectacular player. Unbelievable. I'll tell you also spectacular, the Quantrell Auto Group. They got a great deal this month for Subaru. I think most people within the sound of my voice know that the Outback is a special car. So check this out. 0%. That's right. 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to stretch it out to 72 months, 1.9% for 72 months. Look at what's going on with banks. This is like ridiculously good. What a deal. 0% for 36 months. Go test drive the Outback. And don't forget, the Quantrell family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise to get you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks. I trust them. We have 2 cars from Quantrell. Check them out. Use my name. Say, hey, I was listening to Alan Cutler on 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrell Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quantrell family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ATM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jack Link's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop, return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
As John Hale makes his hat look really good because he's also on YouTube Live. John, can I ask you a deep personal question before we properly introduce you?
Sure.
Okay, you're not going to be shy with me. I've never thought you'd be really shy with me. Tell me if you think this is nuts. I make my own tea. I've got green tea, turmeric, ginger, cayenne pepper, and black pepper. It's a little strong. Do you think that, would you drink something like that?
I am not a tea person, so that does seem a little much to me.
Well, my wife thinks I'm a little much too, so that's okay. And all organic. All right, John Hale, give yourself a great plug with everything you do. And you know, there's one word starting with a B I got to ask you about.
Yeah, it's almost time for the season to start. All of our normal traditional season preview content will be in the paper this weekend and online tomorrow at Kentucky.com. You can follow me on Twitter, John Hale _HL, and I'll be around as this unfolds.
John, in case I forget, seriously, send me a little note, text me, and I will give another plug for your football thing tomorrow during the show, even though you're not on, because people should read it. You guys do a really good job of that. So happy to give you an extra plug.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Oh, happy to do it. Happy to do it. Okay. So the word B, okay, is it a B because they're banging battles and whatever? Is it a B because it's really real, even though they've decided? Is it a B that either one could really win it? I'm sure we're overanalyzing it, but you're there every day that they will talk. Do you honestly believe, John Hale, that they know who the starting quarterback it is, but they're keeping it quiet, or they think they know, but they might change their mind, but they might not? Or two, it really is a battle, or they just saying it to make Cutler feel good because he's improved a lot? What the heck do you analyze this battle deal?
Yeah, I don't think it's actually a quarterback battle. I think Zach Calzada is the starter. My understanding, he's taken almost every single first-team rep throughout camp in both of these scrimmages, including the one on Saturday where Cutler played so well. Calzada took almost all the first-team reps, and Cutler was playing against the second-team defense. As to why Mark Stoops chose this week to decide to remind everybody he hasn't officially named them, I think there are probably a couple ideas. You mentioned keeping Cutler motivated. That's probably one of them, because they know that there's no guarantee that Calzada is going to be good enough after 2 years at the FCS level. And we've certainly seen many, many quarterbacks at Kentucky get hurt over the last 10 years. So they need Cutler ready at a moment's notice to go in. And so preparing as if he might win the starting job is important. I think another point of it is Toledo's a good team week one. They fans might not buy a lot into that, but they're picked to win the MAC. They beat an SEC team last year. They had their running back played for Kentucky last year. So that's a game Kentucky could absolutely lose. And if there's some sort of minor advantage in forcing Toledo's coaches to prepare for two different quarterbacks for a few extra days, Mark Stoops is going to take it at this point. And then finally, I think maybe the most likely scenario is what Bush Hamdan told us after practice yesterday was some of the lesson was learned about as a quarterback, how you have to prepare the night before, the morning of a game, not get too high, not get too low. And he said he thought that showed up in the scrimmage Saturday. So probably part of this is, even though Zach Calzada knows he's the starter and all his teammates know, it's never a bad thing to remind him that there is competition, that he is being pushed, that anybody can be replaced. And so if he didn't give them the prep they wanted on Saturday, it makes sense sometimes to come out this week and say, like, hey, it's not for sure yet. So I'm sure there's messaging going everywhere, but I would be shocked if Zach Calzada is not the starter against Toledo next week.
Okay, let's take your last point, because that really baffles me. You got Calzada. He's going to be 25 years old, 45th year in college football. Says how mature he is and he's grown and stuff like that. Even if he knew he was number one, and let's say there wasn't a battle, you know what I don't get? He's new here. He's still learning these things, like the receivers and the playbook and stuff like that. I don't mean to be a hard blank, but to me, it's inexcusable not to be overly prepared for scrimmage too, because you're supposed to handle yourself the right way. And I got to tell you, if I'm a lineman and I realize that, I'm ticked off. Am I blowing this up to something that's not? Preparation is preparation, and I'm a big preparation person, John.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly the case. I agree with you there. I would hesitate to go too far down that road because Bush Hamdan was kind of vague in what he was talking about. And he also mentioned he said specifically, like, as a quarterback, you don't get too high, get too low. So maybe it was a case of he was too amped up and it was like trying to hunt for big plays, which is something that Zach told us the week before after the first scrimmage, somebody asked him, like, what are you focused on? And he said being that game manager, knowing that those big plays will come and not trying to force those situations, taking his check downs, handing the ball off on reads when he's supposed to, doing all those things to stay ahead of the chains, because that's how this Kentucky offense is just built to exist at this point. So maybe it was that case where he was trying to do too much, and it wasn't a scenario where he wasn't prepared, but he was just doing too much. Whatever happened in the scrimmage on Saturday, they clearly wanted to send a message to both quarterbacks, and we'll see how that plays out. I think it might backfire because in a situation where fans are already pretty negative and nobody's giving them a lot of benefit of the doubt, for Mark Stoops to come out 9 days before the opener and start hyping up his backup quarterback, that's going to lead to some. If they go out and struggle on the first 2 drives against Toledo, people are going to be saying, "Where's Cutter Boley? Where's Cutter Boley? Why aren't you playing the best guy?" And from my understanding from people who've been there more than me, is it's not really a question as to who the best guy is right now. It's Zach Calzada.
Okay, and that's more than fair. But okay, you've done this a long time, John. It seems obvious to me that Toledo also knows who's taking most of the snaps in practice. They're not stupid. I don't care if it's a MAC team. I don't care if it was at Boise State. They would find a way to know who's been taking the most snaps. Conversely, if Kentucky was playing and Toledo had the same situation of a battle or something like that, they would know who's taking them. So I've always thought a lot of that was just, and I'm not ripping Stoops or Kentucky or anybody, I just think in general that's a lot of gamesmanship. And pardon my French, I can't say this word without getting fined, BS.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it actually has much of an advantage. It's why I've never understood why coaches are so obsessed about injuries. Okay, maybe in that 2011 Tennessee game when Kentucky didn't have any healthy quarterbacks. Okay, I understand you coming out and lying all week about your quarterbacks, so you don't know that Matt Rourke's going to play there. But 90% of the time, one injury is not going to affect the game plan for the other team that much. And so they just need to get over some of that. But that's how all coaches operate, almost all of them. And if there's some sort of minute advantage, I guess in their mind it's worth playing this game a little longer.
Here's the other part. I don't think Stoops or Bush need to say anything to motivate Cutter. I think Cutter is very, very motivated, and he knows he's taking the second team reps, and he's just trying to show him, when you call me, I'm going to be ready. So if they're doing it to motivate him, I just kind of shrug my shoulders. That's just me.
It just seems like a really strange decision because, it was almost like if you watch the clip of when Mark started this with this talk with Tom Leach at the kickoff luncheon on Monday, he almost said it out of hand. Yeah, he's in a battle with Cutter Boley, which is kind of what he said all offseason. They've been really, and certainly before the transfer portal closed, you were saying those things to make sure Cutter didn't leave. But then he doubled down on it, and he came back and talked about how, Zach had separated, but then Cutter had this great scrimmage, and you never know. And then Bush Hamdan came out yesterday and clearly followed the company line and said all the same stuff about how they're not going to name a starter until they absolutely have to. And every day it's an evaluation. So that's clearly a message they want out there right now. I think it's just overthinking it way too much at this point. Just acknowledge Zach Calzada as your starter, prepare for the opener, and move on from there. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think it adds more headaches than it's worth.
All right, last one on this, and I'm beating this to death, and I understand that. But it seems to me that somebody like you, if they don't announce who the starter is, after next Wednesday, whoever gets the most reps, and it's been Calzada, so you don't think it's going to change, it's going to leak out. Yeah. Because that'll be really important, since that's the day when they start preparing for Toledo. If Zach Calzada is taking most of the reps, then shouldn't he come out and I like Stoops, I really do, but sometimes PR-wise, I'm just baffled. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, I'm confused by a lot of their PR decisions this offseason. I still expect on Monday he'll come out when we get the first depth chart and it'll say Calzada and he'll name him the starter on Monday. That's what he's generally done when they've had a preseason quarterback competition. And I don't think he's ever held it later than that Monday when the depth chart came out. But whatever advantage they get from 5 extra days, 6 extra days of doing this baffles me. I don't understand it at all. I was told not to read too much into it by some people over there, but there's clearly some sort of message they want out there. And that's going to be my question to Mark on Monday is why it seems like this was decided weeks ago. Why did you feel the need to play this game? And we'll see if he answers it or not.
I'm going to say 50-50. Please tell me I'm nuts. Come on, we've both seen these depth charts all the time, and sometimes they don't change it for months. And I'm saying if you're not going to be legitimate about it, why even do it? That's how I am. But I'm going to bet 50-50 instead of it. Zach will be on the first line, and then the word next to it, John, you've seen this many times. You're smug. You know what I'm going to say. It'll be or.
Yeah.
And then Cutter on the second line. I would say 60-40. That's what we're going to see. And I hope I'm wrong, but you can see that, can't you, as a possibility.
It's absolutely possible. The one scenario that doesn't appear on the table, I asked directly Bush yesterday after practice if he would play both of them because he played both Brock Vandegrift and Gavin Wimsatt early in the year last year. His last year at Boise State as OC, he played two quarterbacks all season long, and he said straight up no. Like, this is a situation where it's not like one guy's more athletic and they need the running quarterback in there as the backup like last year. Like, this is a scenario where the number one guy needs to build chemistry with his teammates and his receivers, which is why Calzada's gotten all the first-team reps for most of camp anyway. So they're not going to play both of them from all indications. So I hope they don't do the or thing on Monday. It seems silly to do it, but you're right. They are not above that, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not predicting. I have no idea. Here's the other thing. So whoever's the starter, I don't care if it's Zach or Cutter, and I wish him happy health. And suppose Kentucky has a really good season. Cutter Boley is going to get splinters, and it's going to be almost a wasted year. And I think, and this is futuristic, going to have to do a really good job convincing him that he's the guy to keep him, because you know this, John, he could have left for more money and he didn't. And by the way, he's not the only one. There's a lot of kids in a lot of schools could have left for more money. So although it's a lot about money, it's not all about money. And I wonder if that's in the back of Stoops' head, because, you know, having to re-recruit kids. If this kid doesn't get in any games, if Zach is healthy and they actually win more games than many people think, he could be holding a clipboard all year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a risk. I guess they take that trade-off if it means they're good. I would be shocked if Cutter doesn't play at some point this year, just because Calzada is going to get banged up, or if they're not very good, they'll make a change at some point. I think the one factor working in their benefit there is the plan for Cutter Boley was always to sit 2 years. Like, remember Brock Vandegrift, the reason they signed him last year was because he had 2 years of eligibility left. And so the plan was for Brock to be the starter for 2 years, Cutter to redshirt last year, be the backup this year, and then be the guy going into 2026. Brock Vandegrift not panning out and then deciding to retire threw that into a loop, and so they had to go get somebody else. But that has always been the plan. That being said, quarterbacks are made to transfer, and if he doesn't feel like he's the guy or he's not developing, that will certainly be a risk. And that was definitely part of it in the spring, making sure that he knew how important he was and what wasn't transferring. I think it was a smart decision on Cutter's part to stay, because he was not accomplished enough or like hyped enough to where he was definitely going to walk into certainly another SEC program, or probably even another Power 4 program and be guaranteed a starting job. His chances of starting at some point in 2025 are better at Kentucky than anywhere else. He knows the offense. He's been there for a year, all of those things. But if it lingers another year, if he's not developed, I mean, that's the other part of this, is if Cutter has not proven that he's definitely the guy going into 2026, they're going to have to go out and add another transfer quarterback in the offseason. And then that certainly throws the future all into a loop. So that will be fascinating to see how that plays out over the year for sure.
Okay, ridiculous hypothetical question. You ready?
Sure.
Sure, as he goes. Your smirk was really good, John. I've had this theory for a while. I've talked about it just a couple times on the air. With Brock Vandegrift, I don't know him. You were around him. I have wondered, I don't lose sleep over this, but I have wondered if Kentucky last year had like an offensive line was like the big blue line in the old days, or close to it. Okay, when Kentucky over a number of years put a whole bunch of guys for draft choices in the NFL and all kind of stuff. I wonder if he would still be the quarterback now. And I wonder if he just got beat up so much that it was just like, I'm going to move on with my life. And Bush did say the thing that I screamed, I promise you, after game one, screamed on my show. Not that would surprise you. I'd scream about, why did you run this, man, when you're playing a cupcake? Why take extra hits? And he took some really bad hits. I thought it was it was just dumb. And then Bush admitted that he has to be smarter about running quarterbacks. I thought that was, I was really surprised he admitted. I thought it was really good. Have you ever thought about that with Brock? If they had a good line, would it be around, or am I way in left field in my theory? And please tell me whatever you think.
No, I think it makes sense. I mean, obviously we're doing some armchair psychoanalyzing here, but my theory has always been here's a guy who grew up in Georgia, was a Georgia fan forever, really five-star quarterback coming out of high school, signed with his hometown team. He went to high school like a couple miles from Georgia's campus, and then was perfectly content. It felt like to sit there for 3 years and be the backup and win national championship rings and be a great teammate and be in practice and all that. And then at some point you have the conversation with your family and say, okay, if I'm going to be an NFL quarterback, I got to go somewhere to play. And then you transfer to another SEC school you have no ties to, you didn't know anything about 3 months earlier. You're playing on a bad team in front of a terrible or behind a terrible offensive line who can't protect you. And let's be honest too, like I think he would have been much better if their offensive line had been better and if the supporting cast was better. But he was not. So it was not like that was the difference in Brock being an NFL quarterback and not being an NFL quarterback. So at that point, you probably admit to yourself, not going to make it in the NFL. That's not who I'm going to be. Do I really want to stick around for another year to take this punishment for a program I have no allegiance to at all? Like that probably doesn't make sense. If I were in that scenario, that was the decision I would make too. But so certainly it felt like his heart wasn't in anymore once that tie with Georgia and all those things panned out. And all indications he's happy with his decision and moving on with his life. So hopefully that works out.
You know, you had some really good points. Let me throw one more your way, and I'm going to get off this. I've never been able to throw this to anybody, and I really respect your opinion. That's why we're playing this hypothetical game, by the way, which wasn't on my list. These things just happen with me. So my thing is, okay, he played for his dad in high school. They were undefeated. He went to state championship. He's a big, strong man. My sense is he didn't go to Georgia, where he just missed winning the starting job, as you know, as a great passing quarterback. He did as a strong man, as a leader, as a guy who knew the game, guy played for his father and stuff like that. And there's a difference if you're that kind of quarterback than the quarterback they now want in the NFL. And I wondered, even though he won a state championship and captain and this, that, and all the other stuff, that didn't prepare him for throwing maybe 25, 30 times at a Kentucky or at a Georgia, because they were a power team. And you know, looking for a second, third receiver and that kind of stuff, that he hadn't developed those skills like some other quarterbacks have in high school, even though he was, you know, look at me, he's a big, strong kid. They were undefeated. He right out in Georgia's backyard, played for his dad. I wondered if that was part of it too.
Yeah, probably. I mean, this time last year, we were all having the discussion as to like he was fairly unprecedented. Like we had seen five-star quarterbacks not pan out, certainly guys who just weren't very good and didn't live up to the hype. But we had never really seen a five-star quarterback who sat and just did not play for 3 years. Like those guys either transferred after their first year somewhere else and turned out not to pan out there, or they played early and just weren't very good at their programs. Like he had just not played for 3 years. And so it was this question of like, was the recruiting hype justified, or has he not played for 3 years because he just wasn't that good? And like, I think it's a little bit of both. Like he turned out not to be a five-star quarterback. Maybe his offense didn't prepare him, whatever the situation was. But also like not playing for 3 years can hurt your development. And so that's when we're talking about Cutter Bowling and what his future is, like that has to play in every quarterback's mind. You got to play at some point. And I don't think that did Brock any favor for his individual progress either.
I'm really glad you brought up that last point. I'm big on snaps, huge on snaps. And one of the things that I said years ago, the reason why I think Donovan McNabb had a long NFL career when he went to Syracuse, which was smart, he started as a freshman and he wasn't really special right away. But he got so many snaps and so many snaps and so many snaps, he got better. And if Cutter goes multiple years without taking snaps in live action, I think it retards. It doesn't mean you can't do it. I'm not saying that, but I do think it retards your progress more so than I think a lot of people realize. It's always been something in the back of my head. Go someplace where you can play.
Yeah, I think so. And that's why I think there's a real scenario this year. Let's say they're 2-2 after the first month where they've beaten Toledo and Eastern Michigan and then lost Ole Miss and South Carolina, or maybe if they lose to Toledo, certainly. Like in September, we're talking about a quarterback change just because like it's clearly not, the ceiling is not very high. And at that point, you just throw Cutter out there. And even if you take your lumps a little bit now, it helps you for the future. It helps him be motivated. It helps him stick around, and it helps his development to where you can actually buy into next year being good. So it will be interesting to see if the season gets to that point. You know, hopefully for their sake, they're just good and it doesn't matter. But I think there's a high likelihood we're having that conversation at some point this year.
Why am I doing all these hypotheticals? Here we go. Stuff that's popping in my head. You want to blame the green tea I'm drinking, John? Do you think that could be it? Okay.
Might be it.
So I don't think that Stoops is feeling pressure for his job and getting fired because it's about 38 million reasons why. I think he is feeling pressure that he has pride and wants to go back to turning this around. And I think it means more to him that sometimes I think the public realizes, and you're nodding your head, yes, but I don't think he's worried about his job. Am I nuts?
No, I don't think so either. I think everything they've done this offseason, it has not been a staff that feels like it's make or break, like going in. It feels like they've set this up as a rebuilding year in terms of like, let's hope we get to a bowl game, but let's lay the foundation to make this sustainable moving forward. So it does feel like a multi-year process. They obviously signed a ton of transfers who only have 1 year of eligibility. They hope those guys pan out. But this year is as much as anything about developing that sophomore class, those second-year guys who are so much hyped out of high school. They need them to step up and play big roles so they can be counted on in the future. And so I think Cutter's situation is certainly part of that. I don't think Mark Stoops is worried about getting fired. And I do think he has a lot of pride just individually in wanting to turn this around and not wanting to ruin his legacy. So I definitely think that's going to be in play at some point this year. If they are struggling, if it's going as poorly as some people have predicted it's going to go, you do have to flip that switch eventually and say, let's keep these guys engaged. Let's keep them on the team so they don't transfer. So we'll play them more, but they'll also develop them for the future. And so you hope that you have a better idea next year what you got.
From the positive point of view, John, and hopefully you'll grace us with a half hour before the Ole Miss game. You probably have studied Ole Miss more than me. There ain't no Jackson Dart on their roster, who was 14-16 the other night for the Giants. It ain't there. And I think Ole Miss isn't as good as last year. And if that helps Kentucky, God bless any team for doing that. So you win the first game. I don't think the second game is as – you could lose to anybody. Duh, I'm not going there. But I don't think it's as tough as people think. And I could see if they're 2-0, people saying, I knew it all along, forgetting about that stuff. But, I mean, I'm looking at this and going, is Ole Miss tons better than Toledo? Maybe not. Am I crazy?
No, I think that's absolutely true. I was reading something yesterday where apparently their offensive line's kind of in shambles right now. They've got a bunch of injuries and playing guys out of position. That was a struggle for them last year. So certainly if you're a team like that, getting them early helps. But while they're trying to still figure that stuff out, that can help you. I mean, before last year, Lane Kiffin had Kentucky's number to such an extent that you just assumed they were going to lose, but they won in Oxford last year for as terrible as last season went. And so they absolutely could contend in that game. I think the South Carolina game in week 4 is similar. Like South Carolina's ranked everywhere preseason, deservedly so, has an excellent quarterback who's, on these dark horse Heisman lists. But, until we see them prove it, you can always wonder if last year was kind of a flash in the pan for them. I mean, this is a program 2 years ago that was 5-7. So, there is a scenario where Kentucky can build some momentum early. I think they have to, frankly. I think they have to beat one of Ole Miss or South Carolina to get people feeling optimistic about the rest of the year. Because if you're 2-2 and you've just beaten the 2 MAC teams, then you got that stretch where you go Georgia, Tennessee, Texas all in a row there. It's going to get ugly for a month. And you got to worry about everybody just even checking out by the time basketball has started and not even paying attention by the end of the year when you can build some momentum against Vanderbilt and Louisville and Tennessee Tech or whoever. That part of it, starting fast and flipping that narrative, is going to be huge for fan support, I think.
Do you do predictions, or you do it in your special, or should I not ask you because
I will. I have not done it yet.
Okay.
And I just have no idea about this team because we just don't know so much about so many players. I'll probably end up at 5-7. That seems the most likely scenario, but I could see anything from 3 to 7 or 8 wins if possible. It could fall that way, but we just know so little about this team that predictions this year, as much as any, seem just like a crapshoot.
Like throwing darts against the board.
Yeah.
Basically. Last one. Was there one player that jumped out in training camp, one player that surprised you, one guy who might be starting and you go, I didn't see this, because guys pop up all the time. I mean, did you know Max Hairston 3 years ago was going to be first rounder? I had no freaking clue. And so here's my thing, and I promise to shut up after I do this, but I mean this very sincerely. I honestly believe, I'm not saying this at Josh Allen on the team. I'm not saying this at Max Hairston on the team. I am saying this, that it won't surprise me, because I get surprised. There's nothing wrong with that. If there's a few players, didn't say 10 or 15, who end up being much better than anybody thought, and they make names for themselves that we didn't see, which could change things. One, do you agree? And two, you got anybody in mind, and I'll remember it, and especially if you're right.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely on the table. I mean, so many of these transfers, they're just like kind of throwing them in a pot and seeing what comes out. I think receiver is really the spot to watch. We have heard repeatedly there's not a number one option. Like they don't have a go-to guy right here. I think we assumed that was going to be Jamori Macklin coming back, but it's not the most consistent guy in the world. Kendrick Law, the Alabama transfer, got a lot of hype. I will say in the scrimmages that or the practices we saw and in the highlights they put out, Troy Stellato, the Clemson transfer, has impressed me a little bit. Like he was a guy I was kind of writing off. He was hurt basically his whole career at Troy or at Clemson. And so like I didn't expect a lot from him, but I think if he's healthy, and that's a big if for as long as that's going to happen, like he could be that possession slot receiver guy who's going to be a really big deal. I don't think he's going to lead them in catches or lead them in receiving yards, but he's a guy I think who can, the way he plays, his physicality, make tough catches in big moments, who I think could be a fan favorite pretty early on.
You're in trouble, John. I agree with you. I think he can get a lot of first downs, not 3rd and 25, but like 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6. He dives, got good hands, knows how to get open, isn't going to blow by a guy, can get a little crack in the seam of his zone and stuff like that, and get you 6 yards if you need 5. John, we've agreed way too much. Your career was going so well, John.
Next time I'll have to try and come up with some better hot takes.
No, your takes are great. I'm worried about you agreeing with me. Hey, give yourself a plug of where you're on Twitter and your football publication. And seriously, send me a note. If I don't put it on my daily list, I'll forget. But if you do, I'll put it right on my daily list tomorrow night because you guys do a great job of your publication. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it is, and I want to give you another plug.
Yeah, it's John Hale, JONHALE_HL on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it these days. And then KentuckySports.com is where you can find all that content tomorrow morning.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, John. John Hale does a wonderful job covering Kentucky football. Jimmy, his analysis was really, really good.
He's always spot on.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually think he could make a really good columnist. I think I told him that. Because, you do the meat and potatoes, which he's doing now, but when you hear him speak, during a conversation like this, there's a lot there that could easily turn into a column, don't you think?
Yeah. I like what he said, too, about the receiver room. That's going to be exciting to see this year.
I don't think the staff knows.
No.
And by the way, that's not necessarily bad because sometimes guys surprise you. The kid in particular, I want to see, besides the kid from Clemson, because I've thought all along that nobody's going to talk about him. He's not big, he's not fast, whatever. But I'm not saying he's going to catch 50 balls, but he might lead the team in first downs for receivers. And I'll be surprised if he's not on the field a ton when it's 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 8, maybe not 3rd and 1 when it's obviously going to run the ball, that kind of stuff. But I think I expect him, as soon as I got him, I really liked it, that he would be on the field a lot for that. I mean, seriously, a lot for that. No, I mean, John knows his stuff. He's really good. We appreciate his time, not a little, but tremendously. Gene Abel coming up next. Actually, Gene was retired when the Lexington Herald-Leader hired John. Yeah, he was. Blue Lotus Health, 859-533-0914. Acupuncture, 859-533-0914. Ramon Carriega, now also providing a licensed massage therapist. He's been wonderful for me. Anybody up as a senior citizen, God bless you. Even if you're feeling well, you need this. That's what I believe, and you're worth it. You're worth it to help you out. What he's done is, I keep on saying, especially the last couple of weeks, that my neck, because how I can't sleep because of my eye, it's a problem. And he's helped every single time when I said, hey, would you emphasize my neck? Sure. Boom. It's pretty crazy how much it's helped. Check them out. Blue Lotus Health, 859-533-0914. Thank you, John Hale. Really good. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pep and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Milky Way, Snickers, or Twix share-size candy bars, 2 for $4, and Combo's 5-ounce bags, 2 for $5.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrill Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quattro family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
W223CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1392.5. WLXG Lexington. And LM Communications Broadcasting Station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Pleased and honored. It's kind of the Herald Leader today. I'd like to say I set it up that way intentional. I did not. I'm not that smart. John Hale did a very good job. Thank you for agreeing I'm not that smart, Gene, from your facial expression. Gene Abel, retired, outstanding sports editor for the Lexington Herald Leader, kind enough to join us. Hell, Gene, what's number one in your brain when it comes to sports? But I got a whole list of topics. I'm sure if you come to the table with something that you're passionate about.
Number one, I'm enjoying the Reds. I always get to the summer, and I sort of hope the Reds can just get me deep enough into the summer to follow it really closely and then get me to college football. They're making it fun now. They're hot. I don't want to say they're hot. They're in the race. It's interesting. They're playing pretty well, and they got a tough schedule. But Reds are fun right now.
They are fun. And Ellie scored twice last night on base hits, and I think he's got a little bit of a groin problem or something with his legs.
He's got a quad problem.
Quad problem.
Wow, they say it's better now.
I saw him in broken English. Actually, his English was pretty good considering when he started speaking English. He said it was doing better, and so you watch him, especially on one of the hits, where he's just. I don't know if he looks like he's going 120 miles an hour, whatever the heck it is. He just flies.
Once he hits full stride, it's just fun to watch.
It's beautiful to watch. So, and the other thing is they gave up a lead. They blew it, but they didn't quit. And then you have a guy, I'm not sure he's going to make the Hall of Fame. I think it has to do, he's got to get past the 500 mark. But Kenley Jansen is definitely a potential Hall of Famer. He's got like 470 saves, whatever it is. And they beat him. It's not like they beat a guy who just came up from AAA. They beat a guy who's been a great closer for a long, long time, especially for a guy who doesn't throw 100 miles an hour. And to do that gives you, I think, tons of confidence.
Right. And the Reds had a little bit of bad luck because the bullpen, it looks tired lately, and it's cost them a couple of games. It makes sense that it would be tired, and you thought they were going to get some relief. Martinez would go to the bullpen, then Chase Burns would go to the bullpen. But because of injuries to Burns got hurt, and Nick, then they had to keep Martinez in the starting rotation. So that did hurt the bullpen. And the trade deadline, a lot of people thought that's something they needed to get, and they didn't. But you thought Burns and Martinez going there would help them. The bullpen has struggled some lately.
Yeah, it has, but you know what? I give him credit. They had a plan, and the plan got thrown up in the air because of injuries. So I just respect that they had a plan instead of saying, what the heck were they doing? Why don't they trade for this guy or the other guy? The May guy, who people are complaining online, he gave up a home run that tied the game, and they came back, and people are saying, why put him in the game? I have a different feeling about that. I don't want to make him the closer. The kid throws 100 miles an hour. And I just think he needs to pitch more in these maybe not, but I think he needs to pitch in these circumstances a little bit more. And I think he could become a valuable piece. Gene, you've seen him. He tops 100 miles an hour. People don't grow on trees like this.
He brings it. He can bring it out. And he's come up big for them in some games. I think the other thing is a little bit people are forgetting, Tito knows how to win a race. And the longer they stay in the race, Tito's good at this. And he knows how to finish. And I think that's a big plus on their side.
I saw a couple of people complaining that why didn't Pagan pitch last night, and they had a day off. And I'm going, think about it. Think about it. This is a fan who knows nothing. The person who put this up about baseball, Pagan wants the ball all the time, like a lot of guys, but he's one of those guys that really wants the ball all the time. So if he didn't pitch last night, his arm is probably sore. I'm not saying DL sore or something, and I don't know what it is, but for him not to pitch last night, he needed another day. And he's pitched so many days back to back to back to back. He wanted the ball. He wants the ball. They purposely kept him out. And so people saying that Tito made a bad move, I don't believe it. That's one thing about him. If Pagan was healthy and feeling, well, nobody's going to feel great this time of the year. They're all sore about something and all that kind of stuff. But if he was feeling like he really could pitch, he would have pitched. And so the people complaining about that, I'm going, do you know anything about baseball?
And Pagan got Monday off on time, but I don't think did he pitch Tuesday? I don't think he pitched. He's getting a break. He needed a break. He has been struggling. He's been really solid all year. Watching him last week, I thought it looks like to me he's wearing out. The break is the best thing he could get.
Yep, and it's smart. And you know what? If he needs another day, I'm okay with it. You know what I really like? Tito didn't freak out that he's not pushing a guy to pitch when he shouldn't pitch, because I'm guessing, don't know this, but I'm guessing we said, hey, I really need you. What was Pagan going to say? Coach, Tito, I'll take the ball. So I think he's being smart, one, to take care of him, and two, you know what? If he really rests up and he's okay again and starts pitching like he was about 10 days ago, that might help him get to the playoffs. Sometimes you got to know when to chill a little bit, and he's not afraid of putting a guy in a situation that they don't normally do a lot of, because you have to. And sometimes you get burned, and sometimes you develop a guy that way.
You're exactly right. And remember we talked, I think, a couple of weeks ago, but if they could get Hunter Green back, it maybe could pick them up 4 or 5 wins down the stretch, which already picked him up too. But basically, he's had 2 outstanding games, and they won both of them.
Didn't he get 12 strikeouts last night?
Yes, he did. He after that, he gave up a run the first inning, and then he got in a groove. And I was even surprised he got scored on again, because when he gets in that groove, he's as good as there is. And he's pitched he's pitched better in 2. I thought he would pitch well. I didn't think he would go this deep into games this quick.
I did not think at all he'd pitch this well coming back. Did not think at all he would do it.
But they have a really hard schedule down. I mean, their schedule's harder than anybody else. I think they go back to California again after they come home this time. But they've actually played well against good teams. Sometimes their fault is they struggle against teams they should beat. But they're making it interesting. That's fun, and I think they got a strong base for the first time in a long time.
All right, this could be a little touchy, but that stuff doesn't bother you. Michigan, Louisville, Kentucky. You look at me like you have no idea where I'm coming from, which I enjoy because I can't do it to you very much. You don't get it? Gene, I never win with, get you on. Okay, here's my take. Vince Tyra, the former athletics director of Louisville, put up a tweet that I went, and to tell you the truth, it didn't hit me until I saw his tweet. So, Gene, I'd like to say this was my idea, but you know how straight I am. It's not. And so with the sign stealing that went on in Michigan, right? And you're Louisville, and you had a national championship taken away. If this was Kentucky, okay, and if Kentucky had won the national championship, not Louisville, and been through what Louisville went through, I'm not ripping Kentucky, I'm not ripping Louisville, I'm just saying circumstances, okay? And then the Michigan thing comes out, where they're fined $1 gazillion. It's a ton, but they're more into fining people than hurting the kids, which is about time that they did that. And it'll be appealed and all that stuff, whatever. One of the lead stories in sports talk in Lexington would be about, wait a second. Okay, I don't care what you cost Michigan, but you can't letting them keep the national championship. What the heck? You took our national championship away at Kentucky. By the way, this is a made-up thing, folks. Take a chill pill. You took the national championship in Kentucky. You let Michigan go. We want ours back. So now, if you're in Louisville's thought process, as Tyra says, there's no fan base in the country that's really has watched this Michigan thing as much as Louisville fans. And you know what? I agree with that. I should have thought of that. I did not. This is not a Louisville show, but we do talk sports, and we do talk, sometimes about Louisville and stuff like that. And I think it's a legitimate conversation that has been negated totally in Lexington, Kentucky. If it's been on Louisville's radio, I have no clue. I would think it should be. It's as obvious as nose on my face. But can you see that argument? If this had happened to Kentucky, not Louisville, and you saw that in Michigan with their sign stealing, and now Harbaugh can't coach in college without an appeal. He's probably not going back to college anyway for about 1,000 years. It's the longest one ever because they're adding on to what he has there. Don't you think that's a legitimate story? And don't you think that the Louisville fan base has the right to complain? And don't you think if it was Kentucky and this happened to Kentucky, people here would be screaming like crazy?
Yeah, agreeing with you is difficult, but yes.
Wait a second. No, I got to stop you. Hang on. There'll be dead silence for a second. Would you repeat that again?
I think we were talking about Louisville fan base versus Kentucky, and there's no question if that had happened. But the Kentucky fan base would be on fire. But I'm assuming the Louisville fan base is on fire. They have every right to be. I mean, that's just crazy. But there's no doubt that if that had happened and it was Kentucky and fans in Louisville, you'd hear it all night long, 24/7. But
yep.
I do assume that there's a whole lot of that going on in Louisville. I know Eric Crawford had a really nice column about it the other day. And but the Michigan thing is just out. Harbaugh won't coach again. He shouldn't coach again, and it's hard to like Harbaugh.
I didn't read Crawford's piece. It's interesting. Shame on me. Before Bozik's retired, as Bozik and Crawford are wonderful columnists, I would, if I don't read it every day, I go back and read it a couple times a week. Since Rick is retired, I haven't gone back and look at Eric's stuff. Shame on me. I'll go back and look at it because they're both really good, and Rick was a hell of a columnist too. So interesting. I follow enough Louisville people. I'm surprised that it hasn't popped up. Maybe I missed it on my feed, but I'm surprised, it hasn't popped up on my feed more than and I don't even follow Tyra. And I'm going to ask him to come on the show. And I was asking Kendrick Haskins, my dear friend, sports director of Wave TV, to come on Friday, and he can't. He's the first time he said no because they're getting ready for the big football season and pros and stuff like that. I was going to ask him about it too. I think it's a legitimate story. I think it's a real legitimate story.
Absolutely. The one thing I will agree with to some extent is that they're not punishing the players, and I always thought that was sort of silly. The players aren't involved, and the players that stay then get punished, and they're not doing that at Michigan. That part I do agree with, but Louisville should probably get that championship back.
They should, and I think you need some national people to start hopping on the fence with that to help them out. Because really, I know there's a lot of Kentucky fans listening who hate Louisville, but to me, fair is fair. Fair is fair.
I just don't know, once you get out of the state, if you're a national columnist, how much appetite is there? And that's nothing against Louisville. It would be the same to some extent as Kentucky. How much appetite is there for you spinning a column on something that happened in 2013?
TV shows. The TV shows, like TV shows that talk about different topics and stuff like that.
Right, yes.
Kornheiser and those guys and Wilbon, they talk about all. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And
I don't know if they have.
I have no idea. I haven't watched the show in a long time. And it's amazing. That show did change television sports. There's no question about it. And I haven't watched it forever, and they're both very good. So neither here nor there. Okay. So are you like me, Gene Abel, and like everybody else with your thoughts of the quarterback, that all I've been saying, if Cutler's the best quarterback, he should start. If Zach is the best quarterback, he should start. But with Zach taking all the ones, that there is no battle, and the word battle has been overused, and John Hale pointed it out very well. I'm a little baffled, semantically speaking, by Stoops, which we're going to get into, but I don't care. I don't care who it is. If you're not taking the number one snaps, how the hell are you going to win the quarterback job? So they think it's sealed up, don't you think?
I think Zach's the quarterback on opening day, and I think it's pretty much been that way. I would assume, from what I'm hearing and seeing, and Cutter is playing better, which is obviously a good thing. I think they still think Cutter is the quarterback of the future, and I think that was the plan all along. I expect Zach to be the starting quarterback. I'm not sure that's not the best scenario for Cutter to some extent. I think the worst case scenario, or not the worst, but a bad case scenario would be for Cutter if he started and they really struggled, and then they're in a position where, okay, this isn't working, we got to make a switch, and he gets benched. I think your chances of getting him back would be much less than if he comes off the bench this year, because Zach struggles, keeps the job, gets better in the season, and that makes some progression, and then you got him next year. But that's just me.
I agree with you. If you start Cutter in, let's say, game 3, for whatever reason, whether he's hurt or he's not playing well, and Zach plays the rest of the year, you got no shot at him coming back the following year. Because as I've said, he's not the only one on this Kentucky team, and many Kentucky teams. As everybody talks about, it's all about money. There's a yes and no to it. There are kids on this football team that could have left for more money that stayed. There are. And Kentucky's not the only school. This is not analogous to Kentucky and stuff like that. And the way this stuff is, if Cutter's not playing in October, even before, his phone somehow is going to be ringing off the hook, because that's just college football.
But I think if he starts and struggles and gets benched, there's a much less chance of him ever coming back.
I agree.
And he's going to play at some point. I mean, I don't see Kentucky starting quarterback being healthy for 12. It may be health, it may be Zach struggles, but he is going to play, and he's going to play in important situations. And if that's, I think that's going to happen. I think the worst case scenario would be that he started and then got benched. But I do expect Zach to be starting quarterback. I'm not exactly sure why Stoops is playing this the way he is. It doesn't. I'm not sure there's any scenario that makes a whole lot of sense to me. But he's obviously trying to keep Cutter motivated, but I don't know that you want to go that too far with that to make him think he's really in the race, and then how's he going to feel when he isn't? But I don't know. I'm not sure why Stoops is handling it this way.
I'll go one step further. Like, you want your backup to be motivated to study and learn like a starter. You shouldn't have to do it that way. Number 2, he's a smart kid. He knows how many first reps he's taken with the first team. Okay, so like, he's there. It'd be one thing if it was 50-50 or 60-40 with the reps. Okay, we have a question. But if you're not getting reps for the first team, there's no way in hell you're going to be the starting quarterback unless you go up to practice that day and he makes a change, and that would leak out too. The motivating thing, it's baffling to me. I don't think what Stoops says will have anything to do with keeping Cutter. I think playing time will have everything to do with what Cutter does and how he plays, when and if he plays. I think it's just that simple, and everything else is superfluous. It's hot air. It's nonsense. And some of the PR things. Look, I hope Stoops turns it around. I think they've done a lot of wonderful things in the offseason. I really do. But some of the PR stuff, I'm just baffled.
But would you agree that right now it is clearly set up for Cutter to be the starting quarterback next year?
Yes.
And that can't be their motivation for this year. They have to play the guy that's going to win, but they can't screw that up. When this year is ending, they need to still cut for Cutter to know he's the quarterback next year. Now, the other factor that comes into this is what kind of shape Stoops going to be in after this year. I don't see them doing the buyout, but if everything falls apart and they win 3 or 4 games and he's still brought back, does that play into Cutter's decision? I don't know.
Good. I think would be all hypothetical that the huge thing will be obviously about playing time.
And he is set up to be the starter for at least 2 years right now.
Well, look, as John Hale pointed out, we've talked about too, it's pretty obvious that had Brock stayed and been healthy and played well, he's going to be back up this year. So I have to believe there were plenty of conversations about that with the family, that kind of thing. Plus, you look at the kid, he's bigger and stronger. I don't know if you heard the sounds from yesterday, their gang interviews and stuff like that, but you could feel.
Sounds much more mature.
Yes. And what I thought was natural confidence in himself that he is taking steps. And I think that, because I think this is a great kid, and I think he knows when he knows what he doesn't know. and I'm giving him credit for that. And he can see that the game is slowing down and things are falling into place. And I think that's wonderful. And I thought it was really a very nice gangbang situation looking at a kid. When I call it gangbang, these gang interviews, that's what they are. I've been calling it that way forever, and I know I shouldn't, whatever, but I don't think I was the first one. Many people have used it. You're smirking at me like I shouldn't have said it. Why are you smirking at me? Get me out of this one. I'm in trouble. That's what they are. They're gangs.
Well,
they're gangs.
That's not what we called it, but that's good.
What did you call it?
I don't, not that. But anyway.
Okay.
Gang interview.
Gang interviews.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, too, is you're going to have 5 minutes with a kid, and you got to try to bang out your questions.
And probably two of the people in the middle of that gang trying to weave their way through to get to the very front with a microphone were Alan Cutler and Jerry Tipton.
In the old days, there was a lot of truth to that.
Yes.
You're keeping Jerry's name alive. Okay, so you agree with the Louisville thing. We kind of agree with the quarterback thing. I'm worried about you. We kind of agree with the Reds thing. I'm going back to the Reds. I forgot to ask you about this. Did you see Ellie's nickname?
Yeah, now we can find something that we will clearly disagree with.
Okay, you go first.
Ellie is a 23-year-old kid who is making mistakes, who is electric, who is a 23-year-old shortstop. He should be the shortstop. He should be the shortstop in 2 years. He should be the shortstop in 5 years. His runs saved over runs lost numbers aren't really that bad. Is he making mistakes? Yes. I think if you looked at the numbers of Ozzie Smith and a lot of great shortstops, that they were struggling the first 2 or 3 years. He is better now. I watch the Reds almost every night. He made a big mistake throwing her the other night, but his defense in the last 6 to 7 weeks has gotten better. He's changed his overall game. He's not running as much because he was running a lot of wasted time. I love Ellie and he's so electric, but there are lots of times in the last 2 years where he ran them out of rallies. He's not going as much. Now the quiet affects it, but I think Ellie is a shortstop. That's what he needs to be. That's what he wants to be. And you'll see him make a play and somebody said, well, nobody else can make that play. Well, that's correct. They can't. And he made some plays in the last week that were unbelievable. Does he need to get better, more consistent? Absolutely. Ellie's a shortstop.
So when Mickey Mantle, who was unbelievably fast, came up, he was a shortstop. And they decided, I think he was playing in Joplin, Missouri, that exaggeration here, but that's the line they use, that fans in the stands behind first base weren't safe because he threw so many balls. And I don't remember the number of errors. I should, but I don't because I was a Mantle freak. But his number of errors were so bad, they moved into the outfield. Can you see Ellie in center field? If he was good at getting a jump on the ball.
Could he be a good center fielder? Hell yeah.
A good?
Yes, he could be an excellent center fielder. Give me a choice of an excellent center fielder or what can be an excellent shortstop. I want the shortstop. He's a shortstop.
Okay. Let me try one more time. So the Reds won't always have, maybe they can, athletic outfielders in all 3 spots. It's tough for any team to do that. And so you put Ellie in center field, he could make up for, let's say, a right or a left fielder, hopefully not a right and left fielder. He could make up for a right fielder or left fielder that didn't have range but was a pretty good hitter. And so the shortstop could actually, moving to center field, help the defense even more because there's a lot of balls in right center and left center that are not dropping that wouldn't drop because he can get to. I actually think he could make more defensive plays in the outfield and not make so many errors. We disagree.
I'm going to disagree. I think Frito, first of all, is a really good center fielder.
He is a good center fielder.
But if you give me a choice of a really good outfielder or a really good shortstop, I want the shortstop. And I think I'm going to sit there and say, bark it down, Alan. When you're doing this show, hopefully in 2 years, you're going to say, Ellie should be the shortstop.
And if that happens, I will say that, and I will admit I was wrong.
I think a couple of years ago there was a push for Hunter Green to go to the bullpen.
Not by me.
Okay. Well, check back.
Wait a second. Did I?
I'm pretty sure there was.
By me?
Because I think we had that. Yes, but that because he's throwing too many fastballs, he's not mixing it up. That he'd be better off going in the bullpen. Hunter Green. But anyway, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, no. If I'm wrong, I'm going to apologize to now. I I don't have
I think
amnesia.
there was a discussion you and Hal had, and somebody said maybe he should go to the bullpen because he's throwing darts up there all the time and he doesn't have the other stuff. And he had already started to progress out of that. But anyway, that's
Okay.
neither. That's
If you're sure about that, I will apologize. I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
But anyway, I'm personally, I think Ellie needs to stay at shortstop for a while.
Okay. John Wall, in the history of Kentucky basketball, we both go back with knowledge of players, and you did the same thing. You talked to a lot of guys that were way before your time, too. Plus, as a Kentucky boy, you studied the history. I've studied the history. You started at a younger age. I had to catch up. I can't think of another player. I'm not saying he's the greatest player in Kentucky history. I'm not saying that. One of the great players, but I'm not saying he's one of the greatest player in Kentucky history. Nobody in the history of Kentucky basketball, nobody had more effect on the program than John Wall. And I can't even think of a 1A, and I can't even think of number 2. Julius Randle says, I came here because of that. The dance. 16 million people have seen the dance. So many kids wanted to come here because he made Kentucky basketball fun. Can you think of somebody who is more important to this program than John Wall?
I think the person I would put 1A is probably the person you would put 2, and that's Mashburn. I understand why you could put Wall above Mashburn. I'm not sure I put him way above Mashburn. But one difference was Wall came into a mess, but it wasn't a program on probation. It wasn't a program that Sports Illustrated calling it shame. And he came into a situation that was not good because Billy G had messed it up and it was in a bad place, but they could immediately start and run. Mashburn came here with a program that wasn't going to be in the tournament for 2 years. And it turned the thing. Mashburn, I mean, the Unforgettables were wonderful, and it's great that they stayed. But Mashburn's the one that took them from a 500 team to a contender, and I think you have to put Mashburn up there too. But I think they're the two names I'd put up there.
Funny, you didn't hear my monologue.
In terms of impact, not best player.
Yes. We're talking impact. You didn't hear my monologue yesterday. That was my monologue. And I was deciding on the air as I was talking about it, and I made Wall 1 and Mashburn 2.
I think you can make a case for either one of them. I have heard some debate whether John Wall jersey should be retired. I don't think that's a debate. It should be retired.
Absolutely.
And his numbers aren't near the top. He didn't win a championship, but the Unforgettables who belong up there, they didn't get up there because of the championship and because of numbers. They got up there because they stuck with the program when it was down, and they tried to keep it going, and they loved the program. John Wall came to a program when it was down and completely turned it around. And it's not his numbers, it's what he did for the program. And as we both know, he totally just changed the vibe about UK basketball again. And it was a vibe that had been gone for a few years now. They were not getting in the front doors of the top players in the country. And obviously Billy G made a ton of mistakes and was a mistake. But that was sort of going on late in Tubby's career, and I'm a huge Tubby Smith fan. But they were not getting in the door of the top 5-10 players late in Tubby's career. But that totally changed.
Well, my thing is the deciding factor for me was there weren't kids 5 years after Mashburn saying, I want to come to Kentucky because of Mashburn. It was like, I want to come to Kentucky because Pitino and it's fun and that kind of stuff, where kids still look at Walt so much differently than Mashburn, but the value of both was great. That's what was my deciding factor.
I would agree with that to some extent, but I don't know that any program, and I don't mean this negatively, any program that Rick Pitino covered is the coach of, anything's going to be because of Rick Pitino. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Can't argue with that. You're talking about Rick's ego. I can't argue with that.
Well, not even just his ego, his presence. I mean, that's who Rick is.
Yes, I agree. All right, I'm going to read this Oscar Robertson thing, last one. You're the perfect person to throw this at. The Big O. It's a long quote. The GOAT debate should have been buried years ago. Michael Jordan is the undisputed king. No asterisk, no debate. LeBron, he was never in that conversation to begin with. Built by media hype, protected by narratives, and carried by marketing machines. He's flash without forever. When he retires, so does the illusion. Jordan left a legacy. LeBron is just a long moment. The day Jordan walks this earth, the day excuse me, the day another Jordan walks this earth, I'll admit it. Until then, stop insulting greatness with comparisons. The big O. Oscar Robinson, who is no filter all the time, as you know, and averaged a triple-double. You agree with that?
I think it's a little bit strong. I'm a big Oscar fan, and it's pretty hard to not put Oscar on that list if you go very far. But I think that's a little bit strong on LeBron. I think LeBron has had an incredible career. His longevity. I mean, that isn't something that you can't count as a plus. I mean, he's pushing 40 now, right? And he still looks like he's 23, and
he's past 40.
Okay, I mean, LeBron's career is unreal. For a period of time, MJ was unstoppable, as good as they was. I personally would put Kareem in that list.
LeBron was born on December 30th, 1984. He's 40. Be 41.
And is he what he was 10 years ago? No. Is he still top 10, 15 player in the league? Probably so. I mean, it's unreal. His body and how he's taking care of himself is just unreal. And there's a lot of LeBron haters out there, which I've never really understood, but that's a different topic for a different time. But I'm a big Kareem fan too. He completely changed the game and had the one shot that was never stopped and was unstoppable.
And I don't understand why other centers don't shoot that shot. You don't have to be 7 feet plus to do it, because you put it up high in the air, your shoulder protects your arm. I am baffled that the hook shot is basically gone in basketball. It's one of the most unexplainable things. You have to work on it. Okay, so you take 100 hook shots each hand every single day. In a couple of years, you'll probably be really good. The hook shot, to me, is the most amazing thing in basketball, why it's not used more.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but when you turn on, and this has been this way for 30 years, you turn on ESPN highlights every year, which everybody watches, you're going to see two things: dunks and three-pointers. So what do kids go out and practice?
Yeah, but if you can hit hook shots and you're a center and rebound, there still is room for you. It won't be a top thing.
I just said how I am on Kareem. I love that hook shot. And it was just a beautiful thing to watch.
Have you read Kareem's book?
I have not read Kareem's book.
You would like it.
I should, and I've always been a Kareem fan. I've always liked Kareem.
His childhood was, I knew there was, I don't know if the word conflict. It's a term that I like. He had a lot of internal constipation in the house and out of the house, and being tall and being black. He had
very, very smart.
Yes. Introspective, shy. He had more issues as a kid in school. I knew there were some, I had no idea it was, and he's a wonderful what a wonderful writer is. Gene, you would really like the book. I recommend it highly.
I should read it. And a lot of the show, I mean, his career later, there were times Kareem was difficult to deal with. He stayed by himself, and he was going to play by Kareem's rules to some extent. He didn't do anything bad. I'm just talking about he was going to practice how he wanted and when he wanted. He was very private and kept to himself.
And part of that was because of the practice and stuff, and you're right, he thought he knew how to get himself ready. That's part of it. The other part of it, too, he had such a lack of trust with the media, and partly with good, as smart as he is, my only thing was, and far be it for me to criticize Kareem, you have the same beat writers and stuff like that, and the same TV guys. You figure out he's a really smart man, who you can trust, who you can't trust. What he did was say, screw it, I'm just not going to deal with anybody. And do I think it hurt his perception? Yeah. Do I think he cared? No. But he got burned a couple times and said, screw it to the media. And it worked out just fine for him, one of the greats of all time. But he's kind of hinted that if he had to do it all over again, that would be one thing he would do a little differently.
I could see that. I mean, it probably would have been smart.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. So,
appreciate it.
We agreed too much today?
No, we got Ellie to talk about.
Okay. You know what? And by the way, I really don't, I think you know him well enough. If I said put Hunter Green in, Jimmy, did you ever hear me say put Hunter Green in the bullpen? You have a good way of telling me I'm wrong. Do you remember that?
No, I can't remember if you said it.
Okay.
But
I really don't think so.
I'm pretty sure of that, because I remember the time if this comes up, we're going to discuss it.
Okay.
But I may be wrong.
No, and if I said it and I don't remember, I will humbly apologize. So there you go. Gene, thank you, man. I appreciate you tremendously. Stay healthy, and hope to talk to you next week if that fits with your schedule.
Sure. Let me know. Thanks, care.
Thanks, man.
Care.
Gene Abel. You know what the bad news is? I think Gene might be right. That bothers me. I mean, look, have I ever, in your almost 3 years now, have I ever shucked anything where I was wrong at, not admitting?
Oh, like, no, not knowingly denied. Yeah, no.
I would never knowingly. But that's the kind of thing, the reason why I'm making a big deal, because I'm doing this extemporaneously, which is what the show is. I would think I'd remember that. Okay. Let it go.
I know that that discussion has come up. I thought maybe it would have been Chase Burns' name for the bullpen, but I know that topic has been discussed with the Reds and everyone that throws hard.
Yes.
Where do you put guys and who stays in the rotation if, let's say, they make a playoff run? Who goes in the bullpen? Who stays in the rotation? But it's also like for you to remember. I'm the same way. Like I can't remember what I said 2 weeks ago. Talking 2 hours a day every day. It's like all the thoughts just get jumbled up.
Interesting. Tell you what else is interesting. Checking out naturalhealingandpainrelief.com. That's where my friend Terry Page, that's her new site, and she's got spaces for, I think it's either 10 or 15 minutes, where you can have a free call, free consultation to talk to her about what she does, how she's a healer, and how she can help you. It's free. She's not going to talk to you for 4 hours. That's not fair to her. But she's doing this because then you can see and get a feel of what she can do. A great licensed massage therapist and a healer. Her big, beautiful deal that she calls, book an appointment between now and August 29th, $5 off before you leave. If you schedule 2 more appointments in succession before you leave, $10 off. Following appointments, 2 in succession. Check her out. She's been great for me. 859-373-0578. 859-373-0578. Thank you, Gene Abel. Thank you, John Hale. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrell Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quantrell family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected for
Jimmy, you there?
Including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jack Link's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. One of our guests tomorrow, a new guest, will be Bunchy Stallings. Remember Bunchy? First team All-SEC, 2018. Really good dude. So he's back as a GA, which I think is great. That he's adding a few people to the staff that way as a GA, and he can get his master's degree in sports, fitness, and recreational management, if I have that right. First team All-American, All-SEC honors, 41 appearances for Kentucky. Just a really, really good dude. Corker Youssef is also going to be a GA that we hope to talk to maybe this week as well. But I'm excited. You know, Jimmy's a great player and a great young man. And what a help he can be on the offensive line. Had a cup of coffee in the NFL and stuff like that. And, you know, these kids come back getting their masters, whether he wants to coach or do anything else. I think it's just wonderful. I think it's absolutely wonderful. So we will talk to him tomorrow for a few minutes and looking forward to it. I didn't spend enough time the other day. I just mentioned it, talking about Dean Wells. Dean Wells, and I'm not saying because he's no longer with us, Dean Wells was a great football player. Matter of fact, Jimmy, in 92, I had to look up the year, but I remember the number. Can you imagine getting 5 interceptions in a game? You're right. 5. That was a UK record for most picks in a game. That was tough right? And he set the record for 10 interceptions in a season. Linebacker, kid from Louisville. I remember at the time I'm going, why aren't the Bengals drafting him? Drafted in the 4th round. Had a long NFL career. He was a great player. I mean, just a great player. 1 year he led Seattle in tackles. And leukemia, passed away way too soon. And he's like a lot of guys that I covered after, you know, he left and went in Seattle. I think I only saw him twice. And both the same week, both leading up to Derby. He was a big Louisville guy, loved the Derby. And I remember the first time I saw him, it was the first time in a long time. And Friday in Louisville, if you've never done it, Jimmy, you need to do it if you ever can work it out. It's so packed on the backside. And there's a feeling, an ambiance, an aura. It's an event. I'm not talking about the Oaks, which is an event. I'm talking on the backside. It's a beautiful thing to do. It's one of the things I missed about TV, the stories I did and the people I got to know in the back. And I'm hearing somebody call my name out, and it was Dean. Went over, gave me a hug. We had a nice conversation for about 10 minutes with a big smile on his face. He's really, really well liked. I mean, what a good guy. And, you know, you think a guy like that is just would live forever. Well, he passed away from leukemia, and the UK alumni group the other day, they honored him as they should. And his wife, and thanks to Kent Taylor, Wave put this up, his wife spoke, and she had some all true, wonderful things to say. He's got 2 boys, too. God bless him. Wonderful things about her husband who was gone too soon. Here it is.
He really was the perfect example of an All-American. Not just for how he played the game, but how he lived his life. He was tough, determined, honest, loyal, and selfless. He showed our boys and so many others what it means to be a good teammate, a good father, and a good man.
Yeah, that was Dean Wells. And kudos for the UK alumni honoring him, and kudos for asking his wife to speak. Born in Louisville, Louisville kid. Getting him to come to Kentucky and away from Louisville was a really good deal. Started for 3 years. Excuse me, Jimmy. Let me correct myself. I said 5 interceptions, didn't I?
Yeah.
My bad. I don't know where that came from. 5 sacks against Indiana. And I covered the game in 1992. I humbly apologized. My bad. And he set a single season record for 10. This now I'm looking up. He was in the 4th round, picked 84th overall by Seattle in 93. In 96, he led the team in tackles. And then he ended up playing in Carolina from 99 to 2001. But a great dude and tough. Jimmy, let me tell you something. When he hits you, and smart. And you know, one of those kids, come on, you've seen this a ton, Jimmy, playing football. There are certain guys that always take that first step properly. And I'm not saying he was slow, but I've seen this, and so have you. Let's say a guy doesn't run a 4.5, 5.40, right? But let's say he runs a 4.65 or close to 4.7. But sometimes now, if the 4.5 guy takes the first step instantly right away, wow. And if he'll hit, wow. But oftentimes, a guy runs a 4.6, and Jimmy, you'll back me up quickly on this. A guy runs a 4.6 or a 4.65 often gets to the ball faster because they read the play, they have better instincts, they know what the hell is going on. I don't remember what Dean's time of the 40 was. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. He didn't run a 4.4, but he wasn't that slow. But he was one of those guys. You agree with me that sometimes you've seen it, right? Guy runs a 4.6. He's a linebacker. There's another guy who runs a 4.55 or 4.5, and it's just not as good because he doesn't have the same instincts. Like I said, if you run a 4.5 in the linebacker and you got the instincts, wow. But, Jimmy, you've seen that, yes?
Absolutely. And as someone who was not gifted and talented in the speed area, I echo what you said, and I've been saying that my whole life, that I think the 40-yard dash is the worst thing you can do to scout someone. See what do they do on the field? Because there's a difference in game speed or ball speed. Like if you're an outfielder, when you're tracking a ball, it has nothing to do with what your 40 time or whatever sprint time is. But those are the guys that usually make it. Like maybe you went to high school with whoever, and you're like, they weren't really that great in high school. They weren't that fast. They didn't have the measurables, but they know how to play. They know where they should be, and they're always there right when they need to, and they get the first step, and that's huge.
It is huge. Want to play at least one clip. I'm trying to play it all week of Josh Braun. As you listen to the show, you heard me say with all the talk about Big Pete, which is all legitimate. I've talked about it ad nauseum that people forgetting about Josh Braun. They're picking it up. Come on, the guy was second team all conference in SEC. He's married. He's mature. He got his degree a long time ago. He's a great addition to the offensive line. Seriously, he's like 330. He's a big man and ridiculously mature. And so let's go back to how he thought the team did. This is clip number one, Jimmy, how the team did with the scrimmage on Saturday.
So from an offensive line perspective, we did some good things, we did some bad things we have to correct. We're 2 weeks away from the first game, so the good thing is we've got time, not a lot of time, so at the end of the day, we got to do our responsibilities and treat every day like it's going to be our last.
Can you elaborate on some of those loose ends you guys still want to tie up ahead of this?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody, there's going to be loose ends. I mean, you're not going to be if you can be in mid-season form by the first game, then great. And we still have to work on that, and we're very close. I will say that.
I think it's a great soundbite. I think it tells you can feel, Jimmy, right away his maturity, right?
Yeah, just listening, I thought he was a coach when I just heard his voice the first time. He sounds. Go ahead.
No, you just took the words out of my mouth. You beat me to it. Bless you. That he sounds like a coach. Go ahead, Jimmy. I'm sorry.
No, and when like you said, he is a mountain of a man. I mean, all these offensive linemen are, but just when you see him and Pete on that offensive line, that is going to be a physical presence.
Not fat, and Pete's not fat.
Yeah,
they got like very little bellies for men that size. He is a big man. We can play one more clip. Hopefully the rest will play tomorrow. We'll see how tomorrow goes. What kind of line you going to have there, big Josh Braun?
Yeah, I think we're very solid. I think we have a chance to be really good, and we just got to keep working and never settle. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not the teams who start the fastest. It's the teams that can keep it rolling all throughout the season.
I want to give a quick hat tip to Tom Leach, who said something this morning I didn't realize. Jimmy, when he started saying, I went, yeah, I should have thought of that. Going back to the 1950s with the championships of Kentucky basketball, there's always been a transfer. There's always been someone who joined the team. It's pretty interesting. I didn't realize that. So, Tom, hat tip to that. And he had on Mike DeCourcy, who does our show, and Mike was surprised too. So that's a great stat. That's not a good stat. It's a great stat. I ain't stealing a stat like that I had no idea without giving credit. It's not how I roll. Isn't that amazing, Jimmy? You know, if you said it in the last 5 or 6 years, people go, yeah, okay. NIL, people moving, that kind of stuff. The last 10 years, yeah, okay, I can see it. But going back basically longer than I've been around, is that crazy?
I would never have guessed that. Like you said, maybe last 5, 10, even 15 years. But going back that far, that's crazy.
It really is. I mean, it's tough to envision a team these days. It'll happen. It's tough to envision anybody going 3-4 years winning a national championship without a shuffling of players, just by the way the world is. Just by the way the world is. A couple things. Bunchy Stallings will be one of our guests tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Now that I have the color of my shirt properly and not wearing a black shirt with a black background, which doesn't work, maybe we should push a little bit more. We're just starting it. You can watch it on YouTube now on the ESPN 1300 Sports Radio site. Please click subscribe. I'm not expecting this thing to go to millions, but I'd like to see if we can grow it a little bit. You guys are listening to the show tons more. I say thank you to that. Listening on 1300 AM and 92.5 FM, also online on the ESPN Sports Lexington app. Thank you. And also the podcast, which Jimmy will put up. Wait till about 2:30 because it takes some of these sites, anywhere you get podcasts, it takes sometimes a little bit time for that to go up. Last thing. Will Gene Abel be right and I'll be wrong that we should leave Ellie alone and play shortstop? Or how McCoy and I read? I mean, only time will tell. He's pretty strong about that, and I respect that. Which side are you on?
Personally, I would like to see him in center field just as a fan to really see his speed and his arm on display. But I can also see Gene's point. It's very valid. He's very young. He's green. He's raw. Give him a chance. So I could be convinced either way, but deep down as a fan, I just want to see him run in the outfield.
I see him being a man who stops many doubles from happening more than anybody else in baseball. And that to me would be more valuable if you have that speed. But that's me, and he still makes too many errors. But Gene is right. His defense is getting better, but he still makes too many mistakes. Thank you, John Hale. Thank you, Gene Abel. Thank you. Jimmy, as always, thank you. Thank you for listening. Brad Taylor coming up next. Jimmy and Matthew at 10. I'll be back tomorrow at noon. Excited to be back with you tomorrow. Have yourself a great day. Count your blessings. I do. I'm do the show with a lot of gratitude that I'm still able to do it at the ripe old age of 72. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
Listen to the Alan Cutler Show weekdays noon to 2 on ESPN 92.
All right. Ready when you are.